And we're recording. How cool is that? Hey, Kyle. How's it going?
What's up, Matt? Long time no see, buddy.
I know, right? So we figured we'd do this first episode, make it short, sweet, and kind of to the point, and just talk about what we're doing and what the admin bar is. So, Kyle, what are we doing?
So we're going to bring on a bunch of guests, panelists as we'll be calling them, have them join us as we discuss some of the topics that go along with running your own agency or freelance consultancy. Kind of got this idea because I run into questions all the time and don't have the right answer or don't feel confident about an answer. And luckily, me and Matt have this friendship where I can shoot him a text or give him a call, and he kind of helps me work through that. So that's been a big benefit to both of our businesses, and we kind of want to translate that to get more crowdsourced information from some other developers who are doing some cool things or might be going through some struggles, so we can all work together to collectively raise all of our businesses.
Yeah, and so Kyle and I, we talk almost every day. We talk about the problems that we have, about the wins, the losses, like whatever it might be. We throughout the work week, we definitely talk every single day. Typically on the phone, but through text, like whatever. And since we started working together, we've both seen our businesses grow incredibly. And I think that because we do talk quite a bit and we help each other out, we want to bring that to all of you guys as well. I think that creating an awesome group with everybody that kind of helps each other, and we all kind of cheer each other on and answer questions that anybody might have. It's going to allow everybody to grow quite a bit.
Yeah, and I think one thing too is, this is going to be a fairly relaxed atmosphere. It's kind of a good way for us to all hang out too. Many of us, like me, I'm isolated. I'm in this room 8, 9, 10 hours a day, practically by myself or dealing with clients on the phone. But you kind of miss that camaraderie you might have with like coworkers at work. So this is kind of another way to kind of have that back in your life too, especially with just it being video and interactive. We have plans on doing some Q&A sessions, hopefully picking up questions that are in the chat so we can collaborate with everybody that's watching. So I think that's going to be a good thing for all of us.
Heck yeah. So Kyle, like what do you do? What's your business? What do you do?
So I spent about 15 years as a graphic designer in the print industry before I started this business. And I just got totally burnt out on working for the man. I got to see a couple of different bosses as I moved through different positions, buy big brand new houses and drive big nice trucks and go on these expensive vacations. And they were doing all that off of the hard work that I was putting into their business. They started disappearing from work because I was handling so many things. And I thought, why am I working so hard for somebody else to prosper like this? So I started looking at what I might be able to get into, and the print industry is just super tough to purchase equipment, have facilities. You're going to have to manage employees, and I just didn't feel like that was the right fit for me. And lo and behold, somebody asked me to help them out with the website, and I just got hooked. So I spent about maybe a year and a half kind of learning how to develop websites, developing some websites for some people on the side while I was at work. In January of 2017, I got serious and went and registered my business while I was still working full time, with the plans on trying to grow the business until I could leave my job. And by June of 2017, I was able to quit my job and do this full time. So I develop websites. I still do some print work, help small businesses with marketing. I think where I fit in best with businesses is, so many of these big franchises are coming into smaller towns like the one I live in, and really killing these mom and pop businesses because they have all these marketing tools and tactics that average Joe that owns, the car repair shop just doesn't have. So where I can come in and take some of that expertise from when I worked with big, large international franchises and help apply some of those tactics to small businesses to help them compete, in this market and keep some of those small businesses alive.
Awesome. Yeah, and I've run my business for about 9 years now. I started strictly offering print design. That kind of evolved into more of a marketing expertise. Just the way that marketing communicates with people is something that I absolutely love. I totally geek out on it. And it's kind of an easy path to lead from marketing to web work, because it's a very similar thing as far as like communication and everything goes. And I found that that web work just, it fits me much better than a lot of the other things. I still do a lot of just flat print and marketing design, but web is definitely what I've really leaned into recently. So I think we also wanted to talk about how we know each other, how we met.
Yeah, we didn't mention I'm in Texas and you're in New Hampshire, as my kids call it, or
Yeah.
New Hampshire. So we're a ways away and we've never met in person. But the way we met is a little interesting. So I want to let Matt start it off, since he kind of kicked this thing off, and kind of tell y'all how we got to this point.
Yeah. So Kyle, you said you went from your business, or not your business, but where you were working to just doing your Ogle in June of 2017. So that means that in June of 2017, I knew that my business was going to plateau at a certain point.
It was probably a little bit before that, because I was still working full time when you wrote me originally.
Yeah, that's true. That is. So anyway, earlier in 2017, I needed to reach out. I needed to find other developers, other designers that I could offload some work to, while still maintaining my clients and all of that stuff. Like, my business wasn't going to grow otherwise. So I come from a very small town. There's a few designers around. I consider myself one of the better ones. I don't want to, toot my own horn, but at the same time, there are a lot of really talented designers in small areas that, just because of the way, where they're living doesn't mean that, they don't produce amazing work. So I had the idea to hop on Google Maps and go to hub cities like Philadelphia, New York, Boston, and travel on the map about a couple of hours outside of these cities and search for graphic design or web design, and try to find some of these really talented yet smaller community people that are living in these communities, and reach out to these guys. I figured their prices were probably a little bit more in line with what I could do, as far as I wanted to be able to pay them their full rate rather than taking a cut or doing anything like that. It was just going to be easier to say, okay, how much is this, and just pay them to do it. Mark it up a bit to keep myself afloat, but make it as simple as possible. So one of the first people that I contacted was actually Kyle. I sent him an email posing as a business owner. So I kind of catfished him a little bit. But mainly I did that not really, with any ill intent or anything. I wanted to know how he spoke to his clients. I wanted to know how he wrote, how he would take on a new job. So I created a fake email, a fake persona, and emailed him, "Hey, I'm opening up a karate dojo. I need branding." And I think did I ask for a website as well, or is it just branding?
No, it was just branding. You just asked for a logo, and I remember getting the email because I was still at my full-time job, and I would be doing work. I had my own office, so I would be doing work. Don't tell anybody. I was doing my own work while I was at work. So I got this email, and it was literally the first inquiry I got from anyone that I didn't know already. So I was super stoked.
Yeah, I think you were a little overzealous. You actually did the work before any kind of negotiation.
Yes, I produced 3 or 4 logo examples using his company name and stuff. Now, I will defend myself. I would never do that now, obviously.
No.
But I did that while I was on the clock. So, it really didn't hurt anything. Anyways.
You're still getting paid.
Yeah, but the problem was, Rob, the guy who emailed me, he just never emailed me back. I followed up with him several times, but I never heard anything from him.
No, but a couple of months. Was it a couple of months or a couple of weeks later?
Yeah, I don't think it was much later.
Yeah, so a couple of weeks later, you did hear back from me, and I gave you a call, and I said, "Hey,"
at work.
yeah, and I said, "Hey, man, I I didn't tell you at that point. I just said,
No.
hey, I need to grow my business. I need people to outsource work to. Would you be interested? And you're
Sure.
super excited about it.
Yeah.
And I was excited to have somebody that I could offload some work to. Um, is there anything else before we go into like how it started to evolve into less of a me giving you work and more of a
Yeah.
partnership?
Yeah. I mean, we did. I mean, we didn't do a whole lot of work in that capacity.
No.
We did one website that you sent me, um, a small website, uh, and maybe a couple little print things that I designed for you, but it wasn't a whole lot. But I remember like when the tide kind of turned from like we had this business structure where you send work, I do work, I send back, you send money, to like, now there's something different here. It's just when you're like, hey, I wanted to tell you something, and then you kind of confess that you were Rob Fisher and you had sent this email, and I had no idea. I mean, there was no way for me to like put the two together. So I was pretty let's say I sent a pretty nasty email to Rob Fisher after that. But that was definitely the point where we kind of knew like things weren't working exactly the way we planned, but I think things were working a whole lot better.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I started telling you, dude, you gotta charge more for these things.
Yeah.
I know that when you were first starting out, like anybody that's starting out any kind of agency, you need work and you need it fast. So
Yeah.
you're going to
And
take on any job for any price.
yeah, I really wanted to
Um,
quit my job too, so any money was good money.
exactly. I mean, I think every business owner goes through the same thing, or like designer or freelancer or whatever is that when you first start out, you're gonna do $20 business cards, or you're gonna do like $100 logo.
I think the first website we did together, I think you charged like 7 or 800, and we split it. So I think I did
Yeah,
a website for like $350.
exactly. And when you're first starting out, like that's definitely something that you do. You need to grow a portfolio. You need to do it
Right.
relatively quickly so that you can start to charge more because you have past work. You have maybe some accolades from that stuff. But your design, Kyle, like you design and lay out things very similar to how I do, which is one of the reasons I was first attracted to working with you. You also answer your emails, and you form sentences like I do as well, like when you're sending emails. Um, but yeah, like I started telling you, like, dude, you got to start charging more. At this point, I was just starting to get into web. I had done a few web jobs in the past, but nothing like super comprehensive. And again, like because I was new to web, and I was just starting to find my feet. I was also charging like way under what I should have.
Sure.
And I think that's a really easy trap to fall into because as a business owner, especially when it's your only source of income, it's almost like, well, some money is better than no money, but that's typically not going to be the case. Like if you're able to work and you can work well and you can do, great things for your clients, then being able to say no to somebody that doesn't have a budget or point them in a different direction is something that you have to learn to do.
Right. And I think I wonder like too where we would be at this point had Rob never emailed me and I just was doing my own thing over here. Because what this ended up turning into was, I mean, we have separate businesses. Matt runs his, I run mine, but we almost run our business with each other as kind of a partner. I know about all the jobs Matt's working on. He knows about the jobs I'm working on. I ask him for advice on things. I ask him for help on things.
I mean,
We
as a
talk
matter of
about,
fact, not to interrupt you, but as a matter of fact, we know so much about each other's businesses, our clients, like all of that. We both have this agreement where if one of us ends up dying or just completely right, if one of us dies, we have all of our passwords, all of our client information set aside safely. That my stuff would go to Kyle and his would go to me just in case. And, having that backup is awesome, which is actually a show topic we're going to be talking about, like what happens if you die, but, or what happens to your clients.
Yeah. We already know what happens if we die.
Right.
Right.
But I mean, like moving forward, like sorry for interrupting you. I just
No, you're all good.
Thought about that.
I mean, I just think, I definitely have, we've both grown our business a ton from having like somebody to, I mean, accountability is part of it. Like making sure we're not charging bad prices or not going after the wrong clients, stuff like that has been a big part of it. But I mean, just giving each other confidence too. I think that's a big part of it, because we have somebody, I'd never worked in a web agency. So this was my first foray into it. You were just starting out with web stuff, even though you'd had your business for a while, but, go to the school of hard knocks like that, so being able to we were able to accelerate that growth because we were both like multiplying each other's efforts, and helping each other out.
Yeah. And I think like, year after year, since I had started, my business always grew. Like I never had a year where I made less money than the previous year, but that growth was good, but it wasn't great. You know what I mean? And when Kyle and I kind of like partnered up and started doing what we're doing, that first year, my business practically doubled. And that's insane. Like
Right.
I'm making far more money now because I have, this relationship that pushes me to do better. We've almost gamified our businesses to an extent where, at the end of the month, we see what our closing is, and we kind of compete. And, it's not really a money thing so much, but it's a growth thing.
Yeah.
Like how can we structure our businesses differently? How can how do we find the clients that we want to work with rather than the ones that we need to work with, if that makes sense. I know that since we've started talking and like working together, I've said no to many more projects than I've ever said in the 9 years that I've been working in the last year, and even though I've said no to that many clients or potential clients, I've still made double what I made last year.
Right. And I think part of that too is like that accountability part of it. Or I know I've called before and said, hey, this customer went such and such. And you're like, dude, no way. Like, don't even, and then, you kind of second guess yourself sometimes, right? So you think like, should I do this? Should I not do this? And then when you hear somebody, in the back of your mind, you shouldn't be doing it.
Well, it's almost like dating, it's almost like, if Kyle's start dating a girl, and you're in that first stage, you've just started. Yeah, he's married. He's not going to start dating, but
this is being on the internet, so I don't need those rumors flying.
All right, well, regardless, but yeah, like you start, you see a friend start dating, and they're excited, so that's akin to a client or a potential client emailing you and saying like, hey, I've got this web job, I've got, the branding or whatever the job might be. You're excited, you want that job potentially. And similarly with with dating, like, you're going to miss a lot of red flags because of that excitement, and your friends can like, they see it.
Yeah.
They'll pull you aside and say, dude, like, are you sure? Like, there's all these issues that you're not seeing. And I think like that's kind of like what we're doing with each other as well. Like we're making sure that we don't fall into any traps, and we see the red flags that the other one might not see.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
that helps a lot. However, I gotta say that I think we're running a little bit long. So let's start talking about the actual admin bar, like what we're going to be doing, like our guests, our topics, like how we can bring like what we've just talked about into everybody's lives.
Yeah, so I think that's kind of what inspired us to do this, and that's kind of why we wanted to talk about that backstory and like me and Matt's relationship working with each other, because I think this is something that can be replicated over and over and over and over again, and if it brings anybody else the success it's bringing us, it would be great for everyone, So
yeah, and I mean, think about it, like just you and I, our business have both grown like crazy just from our each other, just from our help that we give each other. Like if we're able to build this community with all of you guys and continue this with everybody's knowledge and everybody's experiences.
Believe me, I don't know everything, and neither does Matt. So
no, I try to pretend I do, but
I don't even try that.
Right? But yeah, I mean, just the larger the pool, the more we're going to be able to learn, and the more our businesses are going to just explode.
Absolutely. So, we're going to be bringing up some of the topics like things me and Matt just talked about. We do have we have a list of guests that we've already confirmed that want to be on the show, some panelists. So I'm excited about that. We got a list of like over 54 topic ideas for us to go over. Some of them, like one on the list is like how to tell a client no. So not only tell a client, no, I'm not going to make that repulsive change you asked me to, and here's why, and how you can do that eloquently and like sell that to them, or how when a project comes in that's not right for you, how you can, me and Matt are both now easily saying, no, this isn't for me, pass them off to somebody else. So, we'll do a show and have some guests where we kind of unpack all those different ideas and how you can do that efficiently and actually grow your business by saying no.
Yeah, and we're aiming to help everybody grow their businesses, and one of the things that we're going to definitely discuss is how to charge more, how to win clients, like bigger clients and bigger budgets. This year I landed my first very large job. So one of our topics is going to be how you guys can position yourselves and not convince necessarily, but just sell the idea of this is why this website costs $10,000, $20,000, or $30,000. It's all value, and we're gonna definitely unpack that.
Yeah. Another thing that we have on the list, and I think it's going to be pretty interesting, and I'm excited to see kind of who we get on to talk about this, is like how you can future-proof your agency. Right now, the space we're in is pretty hot. Everybody needs websites. We have all these cool tools like Elementor and Beaver Builder that help us do all these web jobs really easily. But, 3 years ago, those things didn't exist. And 3 years from now, they probably won't either. Because all this stuff is cyclical. So if you only rely on those tools, how are you going to maintain your growth throughout time? So we have, some plans on talking about ways you can kind of future-proof that, so you're not stuck when those technologies change.
Yeah, which is definitely important because it's inevitable. I mean, Adobe is talking about AI writing websites. What happens when that happens? I mean, we're always going to need the personal touch, but that's one of the reasons why making sure that a little bit of everything, and at least you're aware of what other people are doing, and you're aware of other options. That's important.
I actually had a conversation with somebody today who wants to come on and talk to us about he's building skills for Amazon Alexa and doing that for businesses, and he showed me some examples of the things he was doing, which was just really, really cool, and being able to bring that kind of stuff to client as technology evolves is pretty cool.
That is cool. So I mean, we've covered ourselves. We've introduced the show, a bit of a topics like what we're gonna talk about. I think that's about what we wanted to cover in this episode. Kyle, do you have any last remarks?
Yeah, so we need a few things. One, we need y'all to tell some of your developer friends what we're doing, and maybe share this video so we can get some more people in here. Kind of the bigger collection of people we have, the more value we're all going to get out of it. So feel free to share it. You have to ask sometimes. We're already got some guests lined up. We don't have any dates booked yet, but we're looking within the next probably 2 weeks. We should be doing our first show. All the shows are going to go stream live to Facebook, to our Facebook page, Facebook group. We'll probably share it on our own pages. So the shows will originate completely live on Facebook. We'll record those shows. They'll be the playback on Facebook. We'll post them on YouTube. I think eventually we're going to post some audio only version podcast of it. So there's going to be plenty of ways to find it. But originally, the best place to see it is we'll be scheduling those live dates, as soon as we have them. So keep an eye out for that.
Absolutely. And Kyle, what's the where can you find them on, or where can you find us on Facebook?
So facebook.com/group/the admin bar. Shoot me a message. I'll get you to it. You can go to theadminbar.com. We got a splash page up there right now where you can sign up to get updates and stuff. That website's almost completely developed at this point. So once we have some shows to post on there, we'll do that. There'll be lots of archives on there, some cool tips and stuff that probably don't make the show necessarily, but are good pieces of content will be on there. So definitely go up there and sign up, and we'll try not to spam you too much.
Yeah, right. And if you're watching this and you're like, you know what, I've had an awesome win, or I changed my business in this way, or I did this, or I implemented that.
I got a problem that I don't know how to solve.
Or that, definitely, absolutely. Shoot us an email right there on the website. There's a sign up form to potentially come on the show and talk about your business and what you do and how you've positioned yourself.
Absolutely, completely inclusive. So you're all invited.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, let's sign off of this thing.
All right. Well,
all right.
Thanks for watching.
Yes, absolutely. And we'll let you know when the first show is booked. We'll talk to you then. Peace.